On the 5th of January, Oscar Pistorius was released from prison on parole. This has made global headlines as the murder of his girlfriend by the Paralympic champion 11 years ago shook beyond South African borders. As this story emerges again, we're looking back at the judicial process and how it resonates with South Africa's fight against gender-based violence. I'm Julien Trévian. You're watching Johannesburg Journal.
My fellow South Africans,
take note of what is happening in South Africa.
The date for the demise of the white minority regime has been determined.
Listen properly.
But it's over. It's a fourth Rugby World Cup for South Africa.
With what we have gone through, we can't allow this, Madam Speaker.
Well, let me tell you something.
The ANC is falling even further into the ground.
You are not showing the comrades a way to eat.
Shut up! Shut up! I want to hear a pin drop.
14th of February 2013. South Africans are getting ready for the day. Some are on their commute to work, to school, and on switching on the radio, they hear the news.
The nation woke up on Thursday morning to news that Olympic and Paralympic champion Oscar Pistorius had shot and killed his girlfriend in his home in Pretoria. There was already a heavy police presence at Silverwood's country estate.
We can confirm there was an incident this morning at the home of Mr. Oscar Pistorius, the Paralympic athlete. At this stage, we're not sure what happened. Obviously, the matter is still under investigation. We can confirm that there was a shooting incident. Early hours of this morning at about 4 o'clock. There is a lady who has been killed, 30-year-old. Yes, he's giving his full cooperation at this stage.
South Africa's Blade Runner, the Paralympian who had become a sports legend by competing against non-disabled athletes in the 2012 Olympics, had become a murderer. In the middle of the night, he had shot 4 rounds at his girlfriend, 29-year-old model and TV personality Reeva Steenkamp, through the locked toilet door, leaving a family devastated and a nation in shock. Since then, Pistorius has claimed he thought an intruder was behind the door, a touching story in a country where everyone has or knows someone who has been the victim of an armed robbery, but one rejected by the Steenkamps. I do not believe Oscar's version that he thought the person in the toilet was a burglar. In fact, I don't know anybody who does. In the months following the shooting, Pistorius was granted bail for 1 million rands and charged with premeditated murder. His trial began in March 2014. Neighbours, experts and an ex-girlfriend were heard, and the crime scene was reconstructed in court. The judge found Pistorius not guilty of the charges against him, but sentenced him to 5 years in prison for culpable homicide or manslaughter. In October 2015, Oscar Pistorius was released on house arrest to serve the rest of his sentence. But the Supreme Court of Appeal rejected the athlete's conviction later that year. It argued that whoever was behind the door, Pistorius should have expected them to die from multiple gunshots. He was therefore guilty of murder and sent back to prison for 6 years in 2016. A shockingly lenient sentence for the SCA, who brought it up to 13 years and 5 months in 2017. Fast forward to 2022. Oscar Pistorius and Barry Steenkamp, Reeva's father, took part in a victim-offender dialogue, an opportunity for the Paralympian to apologize in person to the Steenkamps and to hear about the impact of his actions on the family. From there, the parole process began. South African law states that a convict is eligible for parole once they have served half of their sentence. A first attempt failed in March 2023 as the Supreme Court of Appeal believed this minimum detention period had not been completed. An interpretation rejected by the Constitutional Court, considering the sentence had come into effect on June 2016 and that Pistorius had therefore served over half of his sentence. This led to a second parole case in November 2023, with Pistorius supported by prison officials praising his implication in courses he attended and support to fellow inmates. And there we are today. At the time of recording this video, Pistorius had spent his first weekends at his uncle's home in Pretoria. He is not a free man yet though, as his sentence only expires late 2029, and his parole conditions are no different to any other convicts.
They imposed conditions on Oscar's release, two of which was that he would attend courses on gender-based violence and anger management courses. So she feels heard, she feels that the correct message has been sent out to society, that gender-based violence will not be tolerated. So yes, she does feel that the process was conducted fairly.
But part of the South African public opinion looks unfavourably on Oscar Pistorius' release, arguing it sends a message that gender-based violence is not taken seriously. South Africa is at the centre of a gender-based violence epidemic. 1 in 5 women have experienced physical violence by a partner, and 12 women are killed every day in the country. Yet institutional support is lacking. Distrust in the police and justice systems prevails, and patriarchal structures persist in the couple, the family, and the workplace. This is only reinforced by women's economic vulnerability. They suffer low wages and unemployment more than men do. Several organisations have regretted that Pistorius, like other offenders, be released from prison before the end of his sentence. It must be noted, however, that parole is part of South Africa's legal system. The country has chosen a restorative legal system following on from its democratic transition. That means it seeks forgiveness and reconciliation. All parties had asked for Pistorius to be treated like any South African, and arguably he was. Now, there's much to say about South Africa's handling of gender-based violence, but the law, in its current form, has taken its course. This takes us to the end of this explainer. Thank you for watching. You can support Johannesburg Journal by subscribing, sharing, liking and commenting this video. Until next time, Salagatli.